All right, let's dive into a really big question today. I mean, in a world of AI, automation, and just constant rapid change, how in the world do we get the next generation ready for a future that, honestly, we can't even really picture yet? So we're going to look at one potential blueprint for how to do exactly that.
I mean, this is the question, right? It's what parents and educators everywhere are grappling with. The old models of education, they were built for a totally different world. So what does a real blueprint for future learning look like? Well, one possible answer comes from this place called the Fulcrum Academy.
The Fulcrum Academy is really interesting because it was designed from the ground up for generations Alpha and Beta, our youngest, most digital native kids. Its whole mission is built around this one really powerful idea: to lead each person to find their fulcrum to break through. To really get what that means, we need to break down their 3 core pillars.
Okay, so the first pillar is all about totally changing how students interact with knowledge itself. They call this method F.A.Y, which stands for Find, Answer, Yourself. So think about traditional school, where teachers just give you facts and you have to memorize them. Well, F.A.A completely flips that script. It's all about inquiry. The student isn't just a sponge, they're an active explorer. The whole focus shifts away from just memorizing answers and lands squarely on the process of asking great questions and discovering knowledge for yourself.
And this philosophy is perfectly captured in their slogan, which I love: the right question is more important than the right answer. It's a complete shift in what we value, right? It's not about simple recall anymore. It's about building a mind that is curious, critical, and always ready to explore. And hey, this isn't just a nice, feel-good idea. The research on this kind of inquiry-based learning is solid. It shows it measurably improves critical thinking, it boosts confidence, and it seriously enhances communication skills. You're basically building proactive problem solvers who know how to learn all on their own.
So, once a student learns how to ask questions, the very next step is to start looking inward. And that brings us to the second pillar, building what they call the inner fulcrum. You know what a fulcrum is, right? It's that pivot point that lets a lever move something incredibly heavy. Well, the Academy uses that exact same idea for personal growth. The inner fulcrum is that deep internal core of self-belief and awareness that gives a student the leverage they need to overcome any obstacle and have their own breakthrough.
So how do you build it? It comes through training in strategic thinking, really deepening their self-understanding, and helping them set long-term goals. And what's crucial here is that this whole method respects each student's unique personality. It's not about forcing anyone into a mold. It's about giving them the tools to leverage the strengths they already have.
And that leads us to the third and final pillar. Now, this one might sound a little weird at first. It's called simulating adversity.
Okay, so this is P.A.S, which stands for pre-adversity simulation. The big idea is to use simulated pressure to expose students to challenges. But, and this is so important, it's all done in a completely safe and controlled environment. You can almost think of it like a workout for building resilience.
And this isn't just some random idea. There's actually strong science behind it. This P.A.S method, it's inspired by a concept called positive stress, which has been studied by places like Harvard. And what that research shows is pretty amazing. Facing and overcoming manageable challenges is exactly what builds up that mental toughness, that resilience, especially in a developing brain. The goals here are crystal clear. You're improving their response time to problems, you're developing adaptability, and you're helping to reduce that fear of failure. It really cultivates courage and a can-do spirit. So when real adversity hits down the road, these students have the confidence of knowing, hey, I've handled tough stuff before. I can handle this. So when you put all 3 pieces together, you get this really clear 3-step process. First, with F.A.Y, they discover how to learn. Then, with the inner fulcrum, they discover who they are. And finally, with P.A.S, they discover what they can overcome. It's a truly holistic approach to building a whole person, not just filling a student with facts.
So let's circle back. Why is this system so specifically designed for the generations being born and growing up right now? Let's talk about Gen Alpha and the up-and-coming Gen Beta. Okay, so Generation Alpha, kids born since 2013, they're already super independent learners. They're used to just going online and finding info for themselves. But here's the warning that experts are sounding. Generation Beta, who start arriving in 2025, could face a serious risk of technology dependency. And that could lead to reduced critical thinking skills if they're not guided in the right way. And this is exactly the challenge that the Fulcrum model is built to tackle head-on. F.A.Y pushes back against that tech dependency by teaching genuine, independent problem solving. The inner fulcrum gives them a sense of self and direction in a world just filled with digital noise. And P.A.S. builds a resilience they are absolutely going to need for whatever the future throws at them.
When it comes down to it, the goal is actually simple, but incredibly profound, to help shape a generation of young people who are truly independent in the way they think, who are creative in the solutions they come up with, and who are courageous in the actions they take.
And that leaves us with one final thought to really